Hey, what's up guys? It's Roy here and wanted to do a real quick video on the kind of top 5 reasons why I actually ended up switching back to the Canon M50. So if you happen to have seen any of my past videos, then you know I've done probably about 7 or 8 videos on just cameras in general. When I first started my YouTube channel, I kind of went on this journey of wanting to find something better than my smartphone, but something that wasn't going to break the bank either. So I started like really looking and dabbling into point and shoot cameras. I went through some Nikon ones. I went through some Canon point and shoots, some Panasonic point and shoots. And then I eventually sold all those and I was able to step up to my first mirrorless camera, which was the Sony A6100, and absolutely loved that camera, but the overheating issues that plagued that camera really frustrated me. So then I was fortunate enough to sell that, use the money that I sold that with to make a little bit of profit, and turned around and ended up buying the Canon M50, where I ended up only spending about $80 out of pocket after everything was said and done. And had the Canon M50 for a good month and a half almost, and the only thing that was really bugging me about the Canon M50 is really the lack of usable 4K. Now granted, there's usable 4K, it's just you really lose that fantastic dual pixel autofocus that this Canon has. So I wanted to find something that could shoot in good 4K that was usable and yada yada yada. So I ended up picking up the Sony A6100 and absolutely love that camera, but there was just a few things, so I kind of narrowed them down to 5 that I felt was lacking in the A6100 that I really missed in the M50. And I had an opportunity to sell the Sony A6100 for a really good price, and then I ended up buying the Canon M50 for a really good price. So after everything's said and done, I actually made money with the deal. So it worked out in my favor. But let's dive into the top 5 reasons why I wanted to go back to what I'm shooting on the Canon M50. So number 1 is going to be the screen itself. So the touch screen, the screen resolution, the quality of the screen, all of it is absolutely fantastic. The screen itself, instead of it being 180 degrees flip up screen, it's a complete articulating screen that swoops out to the side, and it's fully touchscreen. Absolutely love the full touchscreen part of it. With the A6100, I had to memorize without looking, and I would put my hand and start functioning or messing and fiddling with the different things as far as the focus points or the white balance and everything like that. And with the M50, I have the ability to literally touch the screen and I can mess with all of that. I can adjust the aperture, the shutter speed, if I want to film in 4K, or if I want to do 24, 30, or 60 frames per second in 1080, I can do all that. I can change the picture style, everything from that touch screen, and that's really awesome. And it's just so much easier to use, especially now that my wife's using my camera a little more, taking pictures of her kids and everything like that. This is going to be a lot easier camera for her to use, and I just think it does a really good job with the resolution of the screen and the brightness. So all in all, 2 thumbs up on the screen that I'm looking at here. So that's number 1. Number 2 is going to be the ease of use of the actual menu. So on the menu, it's completely touchscreen. So once again, just having that touchscreen ability over fiddling with it with the trackpad is so much easier, but it just is easy to use. Now granted, I don't like the kitty version that's white that looks, like for someone that is truly a beginner. I prefer switching it over so that way it gives it that nice dark appearance, because I'm a big fan of dark themed stuff, but it's just easier to use. You can touchscreen everything. It's easy to find how to change the button layouts, everything. So as far as the ease of use with the menu, that is also a huge advantage over the Sony, because Sonys are known for their very, very confusing menus. And after a while, don't get me wrong, you'll get used to it, but there's just times where I like literally just get lost trying to find the most basic thing that I know where it's at, but I just keep on skipping over it because there's so much words in that menu list that it just gets lost. So that's number 2 on why I really like the Canon over the Sony. Now number 3, it's gonna be, even though they both don't technically have like the nice picture styles that like some of their big brother DSLR cameras have, like S-Log or C-Log and all those things, at least with the Canon M50, I can download Cinestyle on it, and it does give me that nice flat profile, which is actually what I'm filming in currently right now, and then in post I'll color grade it. But right now it's just a very flat picture that I see in my screen here, but I know once I'm done with it, it's going to look a lot better. But having that ability to download something like that, instead of having to tweak a standard, and changing the contrast and the saturations and everything like that in the standard picture profile like on the Sony, the Canon gives you a lot more. I think literally you get like 4 more picture profiles, and then you get 3 additional custom ones that you can do. So number 1, for my auto one, or excuse me, for my preset number 1, I have it on Cinestyle, and I have just the recommendation, or what's recommended from them as far as the knocking the contrast down and whatever, so basically the nice thing with this is I do get that ability to have a flat profile that isn't just one that I created. Because there is another profile I'm going to create again that from a gentleman that's his YouTube channel is the Crowley Crew. He does like a million videos on M50s. He's actually one of the reasons why I decided to switch back to the M50, because just seeing like what he can get out of that camera was pretty amazing. Which I know I can get the same out of the Sony A6100, but once again, ease of use. So that would be number 3 is Cinestyle. So number 4 is going to be the plethora of lenses that I can get for the Canon. So yes, I understand that the that the EFM lenses are very slim as far as like how many there are out there for the Canon. I get that, but at the end of the day, I probably won't buy a whole lot of those unless I just find a ridiculously good deal on them. Like one that I'm looking at is the 22mm. So if anyone's out there that's got one for really cheap, holler at me. I'd love to buy it, but it has to be really cheap, because if you don't know me, I'm cheap when it comes to this stuff. But when it comes to the Canon stuff, like I can find so many EF lenses out there. Like for example, like the Nifty 50. I negotiated just recently with a lady for like $60 on one, and I'm gonna go pick it up hopefully today or tomorrow. And that's gonna be something that's awesome, because adding the Viltrox speed booster to it, it's going to not only help with the crop factor, but it's going to open up an endless amount of possibilities for me on what lenses I can use for this. So I can use any lens pretty much that a DSLR can use. And so I have like a lot of options, because when it came to the Sony, trying to find a lot of E-mount lenses wasn't a hard thing. It was just finding them that were affordable. They were very expensive. I couldn't find any cheap ones. And then when I did, they wouldn't fit my camera. So then I would have to buy an adapter as well for those. But I can find Canon lenses a lot cheaper than I can with these Sony lenses. So that's kind of one of those things. And then a lot of the lenses that I find all have image stabilization built into the lenses, whereas opposed to a lot of the ones that I could find for the Sony, they did not. Like the bunch of them that I found, they were just regular lenses. They didn't have autofocus, so a lot of them were manual focus, and they didn't have any sort of like optical steady shot like the kit lens on the A6100 did. So you lose a lot of those things. But like I said, don't get me wrong, I know you can find the Sony lenses, it's just finding them cheap enough. So I couldn't find one Sony lens for $60, and right off the bat I found one for $60, 50mm prime lens for the Canon. So that's a big part of it, and I'm really excited about getting that Viltrox speed booster on it, because it's going to really make it feel like a full frame camera, which I know it's not going to be completely full frame, but it's going to give me a little bit more versatility with the Canon M50 as opposed to like how some of these stock lenses for it are. So like I said, it's going to help that crop factor, and I'm going to be able to get more light into that lens as well. So that's going to be number 4. And then number 5 is going to be the in-body image stabilization that the Canon M50 has over the Sony A6100. Now I understand it's not true IBIS, it's digital stabilization, but it helps. So comparing videos from my Canon M50 that I had in the past to the Sony A6100, if I was walking without a gimbal on the A6100, it looked like the Blair Witch Project. It looked horrible. And I was trying to hold it really steady. I had a grip pod that I was holding it with, and I just could not get really good looking videos. Now, if I was vlogging and walking, it was a little bit different story. I really thought that that optical steady shot and the kit lenses would really help with that shakiness, but unfortunately, it did not. It actually really didn't do a good job at all, to be honest with you. Now, if I was taking pictures or if I was just standing still and like panning with the camera, then it did okay. Absolutely, it did just fine. But if you're walking, it was really, really shaky. Now with the Canon M50, you are getting the digital stabilization, which you can have just enabled or enhanced. I would recommend never using enhanced, really, to be honest with you. I've heard that if you use enhanced, maybe just use it like in a talking head video, so that way it's not warping or looking all goofy. But I always usually just have it enabled, so that way it does give me a little bit of some stabilization, but it doesn't make the video look wonky or look weird. And I've done some testing with that in the past, with me walking, doing a vlog, hold my hand out and having the camera facing me, and also just walking and just doing like some B-roll stuff, and it does a really good job in my opinion. So completely blows the Sony A6100 out of the water when it comes to that stabilization. Now granted, with a gimbal, so I do have a gimbal that I use. I have the Zhiyun Crane 2 that I have, or Crane 2 Plus, or I'm trying to remember what it is, but either way, I have that can fit my mirrorless cameras or a full frame DSLR, and with the Sony A6100 being mounted on that, obviously you cannot tell, but I'm not going to have my gimbal every single time, and with the quality of that video shakiness, it just really bugged me when I was trying to do some videos of my kids outside or whatever. So those are kind of the top 5 reasons why I really like the Canon M50 over the Sony A6100. Now don't get me wrong, the Sony A6100 is an absolutely fantastic camera. I cannot stress that enough. Like, if money wasn't an issue for me, I would probably not have that one. I'd probably have like the A6400 or something like that. But at the end of the day, the A6100 is an absolute fantastic camera. I love it. But if they added a few things that the M50 has, it would make it even better. So obviously that's like a wish list camera, but once I start getting into that, then you're talking thousands of dollars for a camera, as opposed to me buying this M50 for $400. So just to give you an idea, I ended up selling the Sony A6100 for $700. And that had the kit lens, so I ended up selling that for $700 on OfferUp. I ended up buying this one after taxes because I bought it on Mercari's website, and they charge you taxes and shipping. So I ended up paying $450 for this one after everything was said and done. So I ended up profiting $250. So I was really excited about that. So yeah, so now I can use that to go buy a lens or something and still pocket some money. So anyways, guys, comment down below if you have the Canon M50. Let me know how you're liking it. Obviously, I know with the Canon M50 Mark II coming out, hopefully at the end of the year, I'm very anxious to see what they're going to add. I've heard of a couple of cool things. One in particular is actually having in-body image stabilization, like true sensor stabilization, not digital. So that's going to be a big selling point for sure. So anyways, so yeah, so hope this helps y'all guys. If you have any questions about anything about either camera, let me know in the comments down below, and we'll go from there. So thanks, and have a blessed day. Take care.